Today, have yet another wonderful man of God, a speaker who is a dear friend of mine. I've known him for almost 25 plus years, and that is Reverend Jagadisan Kalyan Kumar. So it's my privilege to introduce Reverend Kalyan Kumar, who serves in the same city as I am, which is Chennai in South India, a church planter, passionate trainer of pastors and leaders, missions mobilizer, a movement leader. He has served in the full-time Christian ministry for nearly 4 decades. He began his service to the Lord at the age of 20. He holds 2 master's degrees, both in Singapore and awarded by the University of Wales as well. And he began a church planting pioneering work in 1998. And since then, God has used him to plant over 600 churches across previously unchurched, unreached villages. And he has founded a ministry training center that has equipped over 1,200 grassroots church planters, and nearly 80% of them are serving in cross-cultural pioneering context today. His ministry, the Harvest Apostolic Ministries, has a staff team of approximately 350. And Pastor Kalyan carries a broader national vision through what he has called as the Vision 2020, or the Nehemiah Push, which is an initiative that seeks to catalyze church planting across India's 400,000 unreached villages and among the unreached people groups of this nation. He is also actively involved in research prayer mobilization, and he also serves in various other organizations and forums. He serves as he's an alumni of the Haggai International. He is now serving as Haggai's international faculty, and he is also a passionate prayer intercessor who has led a citywide prayer movement in my city for over 10 years, which actually is going to again happen tomorrow night, which is typically attended by 3,000 to 5,000 participants in person and over 10,000 online. And so he carries a great passion for prayer, for missions, and he is a great inspirational speaker who has impacted thousands of pastors and leaders across this nation and beyond. Pastor Kalyan's family now, Pastor Kalyan was married for 29 years to Jesse, a wonderful Chinese Malaysian missionary who came to Chennai, married Pastor Kalyan, and they served together for 29 years. The Lord called her to be with him 2 years ago in 2024, and they are blessed with 2 children, Janet and Jaden. So it's a great joy for us to welcome Pastor Kalyan as he now shares his heart and his ministry approach. After his presentation, we will have a time of interaction. So please note down your questions and type them in the chat so that towards the end, we'll have a time of Q&A with Pastor Kalyan. So over to you, Pastor Kalyan.
Thank you very much, Pastor Jakes, my good friend. And a very good evening to all of you from India. I know you are from different countries, and it may be a different time for you in your country, but it's evening here. So good evening to all of you. Let me straight away dive into the topic that is given to me to share my church planting journey and some of the learnings that I have from the experience of being involved in church planting. I started my first church plant in the year 1990 in a village where there was no church. This burden came when we were involved in outreach to villages. As we kept going to villages to do outreach, I discovered that people who give their hearts to the Lord, people who respond to the altar calls, give their life to God, after 3 or 4 months, when we come back to the same village, they seem to be getting saved again. And they keep coming for deliverance again. So this disturbed me a lot. And so I told my pastor that something different has to be done, and that we have to plant churches in these villages where we are doing outreach. The big question my pastor asked, he said, good idea, but who's going to go? So I said, I will go. So I went to a village in the outskirts of Chennai, Singaperumal Koil. At that time, no church. And I challenged my younger brother, 2 years younger to me, to consider going to another village. And he went to another village, which is 200 kilometers away from Chennai. So we both got into church planting in the year 1990. Then, to cut the long story short, I was very frustrated, and I was very much thinking about the thousands and thousands of unchurched villages in the country. My question was, what is the answer? What is the answer for this? Well, I was still planting my first church. And I felt the Lord was leading me to train church planters to plant heaps of churches. But to do that, I felt I was not equipped. So I was exploring opportunities to be equipped. And the Lord opened the door for me to go to Singapore. And in the year 1992, I went there. And for 3 years, I did my bachelor's and a master's program in Singapore. But from the time I went to Singapore, I discovered that there were 30,000 migrant Indian workers in Singapore who were not reached by the local Tamil churches in Singapore. They were an unreached people group at that time. So voluntarily, I started going to the construction sites, the makeshift accommodation units where they lived, and started outreach amongst them. And was able to successfully mobilize volunteers from different churches, the Chinese churches, the Indian churches in Singapore. And by the time I finished my studies, we were able to plant a couple of churches and few dozen outreaches. Then there was a need for the work to continue, and there was no full-time worker at that time. So the volunteers challenged me to stay back for a couple of years, if possible. So I did. And so until 1998, I lived in Singapore. It was at that time I got married to my wife from Malaysia, who was my classmate. And in my 6.5 years stint in Singapore, we were able to plant 7 churches in partnership with churches in Singapore, and also pioneer 32 outreaches. Today, there are many churches in Singapore that is involved in church planting amongst the migrant Indian workers. But 1992, when we first started, we were the first, and I'm glad that today we have many ministries amongst the Indian migrant workers. So my first church was 1990, and 7 churches were started in Singapore between 92 to 98. But the burden to see churches planted in my own country, that was growing. And so I left in 1998 Singapore. For me, it was easy to come back to my own country, but for my wife, who was a Malaysian Chinese, it's completely a different story. But she was up for it. She had a missionary call, and she responded. And so we came to India in 1990 with a vision to plant a lot of churches. And we started a church in Chennai, the city where I live right now, and started a training school to train church planters. And we also know that India, with 28 states, regions, provinces, the northern provinces, the northern states, below Nepal, near Pakistan, near Bangladesh, near that part. That is the part where we have more unreached regions. So we started getting involved in cross-cultural missions. You must know that India has many languages, and for me to go from my city to North India to do missions is as good as any Singaporean going to, say, another country to do missions, learn a new language, new culture, everything new. So that's the kind of challenge. So, but we were up for it again. It is 2,000 plus kilometers away, and we started because 99% of people are less than 0.5% Christians in that region. It's a huge place called Bihar, just below Nepal. So we started focusing there, and so we started the church. We sent cross-cultural missionaries. In the last 28 years, we have sent over 100 cross-cultural missionaries from different parts of India to Bihar. And being an unreached region and known for persecution, we need to find a legitimate platform to park our missionaries there. So we started schools, and all the cross-cultural missionaries who were mobilized from other states were there in the school. Today we have 4 schools there, and we have started work in another state, another persecution-prone state, Odisha, where Graham Staines was burnt. So we have a school there as well. So that is the place we park our missionaries from other states, cross-cultural workers. And but actually it is more than a school, it is a mission base. It is the training center. It is the place where we train the indigenous church planters. So in the last 28 years, we have planted more than 600 plus churches in 600 plus unchurched villages with 4 training hubs, one in each region. But last 5 years, the burden started increasing, and it was beyond my own organization. Thinking about the whole nation again. One intelligent survey, not accurate survey, but a calculated survey says 400,000 unchurched villages in India, and about 2,000 unreached people groups. So I wanted to see some changes there. So the last 5 to 7 years, proactively, I've been involved in mobilizing churches and ministries towards the unreached for church planting. So with the experience we have gained over the last 20 plus years, we thought we can share this with other leaders and replicate the model. In the last 5 years, we have successfully mobilized 15 churches to adopt a region in North India. And for cross-cultural missions and for church planting. And we are walking with them. We are doing all that we can to coach them. And we have they have adopted together about 6,000 villages for church planting. And we are also exploring the possibility of pioneering amongst the unreached people group. So two things: geographical approach, unchurched villages; people group approach, unreached people groups. The dream is really to see 1,000 churches within India, each adopting a region in the country for saturation church planting. And India has 700,000 churches, 0.7 million churches. If less than 1% churches even rise up to each take about 50 to 100 villages, this is highly doable. Just envisioning and mobilization is going to be the key. So we're doing all that we can. The big picture strategy to accomplish this is, we call it PREM. P-R-E-M is an acronym. And the word prem in Hindi and the word prem in many Indian languages is love, means love. So it's a love strategy, prem. P stands for prayer, R stands for research, E stands for envisioning, and M stands for mobilization. Prayer, research, envisioning, mobilization. I can go into details doing under each heads, but I won't do that. But for our own ministry, our dream is to see 3,000 villages with a church plant in Bihar, 1,500 church plants in Odisha, 500 church plants in West Bengal, and 1,000 in UP. About 6,000 church plants by 2033. That is the goal for our own ministry, but nationwide, they are looking at a much bigger number. But very quickly, let me share with you 7 learnings that I have picked up in my journey of church planting. Number 1, I strongly encourage church planting movements, those who are attempting church planting, to plant churches in clusters. Plant churches in clusters, in groups. Not just plant a church, but plant a region. I repeat, don't just plant a church, plant a region. Have multiple points for people to gather. And easily the church planter who starts, he himself can be in 3 places. We don't need many workers. If we are planting a region, if we have 10 workers, we could plant in 30 locations. That is the strategy that we have always used, and it works. We kind of keep 10 villages in focus for a church planter, and we tell them to very quickly start at least 3. And maybe they have 20 people in one place, they have 20 in another place, and they have 20 in another place, and they have 60, and they can come together once a month, and that kind of, gives them a good feel, and it works. And so plant in clusters is something that I would strongly say to people. It's so nice for us as a church to say we have in 20 states of India church planting. We have our flag in 20 states. We have in 100 districts. Yeah, it kind of it gives you a good feel. But practically, I would say, focus on region, adopt a region, plant churches in clusters. Why would I say that? I'll give you 7 sub-points there. If you are someone taking notes, I have my 7 main points, my learnings. My first point is plant in clusters. Why would I say that? Because you get the peer support from the fellow church planters. Apostolic, prophetic leaders overseeing the work. They can come more frequently if they are all together for impartation, for impact, for oversight. So number 1, peer support. Number 2, apostolic, prophetic input can be more regular. Number 3, they can together deal with opposition. They can together deal with strongholds. They can together deal with opposing forces, which we invariably have in these kind of regions where there is less Christian percentage. Number 4, less financial constraint, relatively speaking. Doing it in one place, we can have the infrastructure, one like training can be together. And so that takes me to the next point, training network close to the field. We do 3 days class and 3 days field work. Within 1 year, we are able to see church plants. Within 1 year, before he finishes his 1 year training, 3 days class, 3 days field work, and each church planter is given 3 villages as a focus village, and they are put in teams of 2 or 3. So together, if 3 people, 9 villages, so they do it together, they help each other. And the training network is not very far. Number 6, accountability. There's peer accountability as well. And number 7, multiple layers of leadership we can place to support them, and quick emergence of new leaders also can be seen. So for these reasons, I would say, do not plant churches in isolation. Here a church, there a church, 100 kilometers, 200 kilometers, 500 kilometers away. That doesn't help the church planter. So plant churches in clusters, number 1. Number 2, I would strongly encourage do it church-based. We as a church, we planted a church in Chennai, and that church is the apostolic house to see all these churches planted. This is the apostolic house in Chennai, and we have planted 600 plus churches, but this one church that I lead from Chennai are the biggest prayer partners, are the biggest donors, are the biggest people in the number, a church that releases workers, missionaries. So do it church-based. You get the prayer support, you get the financial support, you get the people resource. So church-based. So all the 15 movements that we have recently helped start are all church-based missions. External prayer support, external financial support, external people coming and joining are all bonus. But you have from your own local church, people, finances, prayers. Number 3, I strongly feel that the visionary leader who's supposed to be an apostolic man, the apostolic leader or the visionary leader, to constantly visit the field and understand the field realities. It's very important for the movement that I am leading for me to keep going to the field as many times as possible, which I'm committed to do, and I keep doing. And I tell the same to the leaders who are starting movements now, the 15 leaders that I'm coaching and mentoring and guiding. I'm telling them, go as often as you can. Go as often as you can. Even 2 days, even 1 day in the field. Do it. Keep going, keep going. So the visionary leader, the apostolic leader need to be there in the field as many times as possible for it to be successful, for the movement to keep moving. I would say, if for all the 7 learnings that I have, if you want a heading for it, how to keep the movement moving. How to keep the movement moving from becoming a monument. How to stay on the cutting edge. Number 4, develop a prototype very quickly and set up a process very quickly so that you can replicate and do mass production. I repeat, develop a prototype and set a process in place so that you can replicate at a very fast pace. Number 5, keep these 3 things in balance, I would say, in the movement: evangelism, discipleship, leadership development. We need to ensure that these 3 are held in balance. One doesn't suffer because of the other. We can say we'll focus on evangelism for a while, then we'll focus on discipleship for a while. No. All 3 are very important. It has to be intertwined. It has to be balanced. It has to happen together. Keep these 3 things in balance: evangelism, discipleship, leadership development. Number 6, always keep the indigenous workers for the pioneering work. We have a lot of cross-cultural missionaries. They teach in the schools. They take administrative responsibilities. They take responsibility to oversee or specifically be in charge of certain projects. But really, the ones who make the difference are the grassroots church planters who are sons of the soil. Who are sons of the soil, who are Bhumi Putras, who are people there. Use indigenous workers for planting churches. Number 7, create legitimate platforms to launch the CPM, church planting movement. Create legitimate platforms, because in most of these unreached frontiers regions, persecution can be very high. And as people outside that particular region, where there is a need for cross-cultural help, when we go there, we tend to attract persecution if we do not have a legitimate platform. And we have discovered that school strategy is the best strategy for us. And because we have their kids for 40 hours a week and all kinds of functions in the school, we can invite all the VIPs in the region as a chief guest. So we tend to have contacts, left, right, center, having a school. So we do that, and it's working well for us. Lot more can be said, lot more can be talked, but I will stop here. I think my time has run out, and hope it was of help. Please do ask questions when you come back again. But it's my privilege to share the little experience that I have had in this church planting journey.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Reverend Kalyan. It was really inspiring.